Hey everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks. I'm currently in the US at TwitchCon, but I'm not going to let that stop me making YouTube videos. Now, Wargaming has given me something really special to play around with at TwitchCon. It's an upcoming Tier 8 Premium Soviet light tank, but again, this is really early days. This is a complete sneak peek. All of these statistics are completely up for testing. They're going to probably fine-tune them, nerf some things, maybe buff some things, but I think probably tune things a little bit down, at least in my opinion. So, it is the LT-432. What's exciting about this is we don't really have a high-tier Soviet light tank. And you know me, I love my T100 LT, and so I'm really excited about getting something that I can kind of like emulate that playstyle to make credits with, or alternatively just train up a crew. So, this is going to be completely live, so to say. I'm going to have to do this all in one sitting because I don't have my editing software here. So, rough and ready, let's get stuck in. All right, LT-432 versus the LTTB, of course, the standard Tier 10 Soviet light tank. Sorry, not Tier 10 Soviet light tank, the Tier 8 Soviet light tank, and the Tier 8 Chinese light tank, the WZ-132. Now, the WZ-132, when it used to be, well, it still is at Tier 8, but when it used to be kind of like the Tier 9 vehicle, but then they nerfed it a lot when they changed all the matchmaking, was one of my favorite vehicles. So it'd be really interesting to me to see how the new nerfed version of the WZ-132 stacks up to this new premium Soviet Tier 8 light. So immediately, DPM, great. 2,200 is a step up on both of those vehicles. Penetration, however, is significantly worse than the WZ-132 on its standard rounds, and its premium rounds, 225 on the 132, and the premium rounds are 218 here. Now, one thing that's weird about the LT-432, a lot like the Tier 10 Soviet light tank, the T100 LT, is that its standard rounds are APCR and its premium rounds are AP. Now that can help with shell drop-off over long distances, but it also is really awkward because, as we can see, the shell velocity drops down to 1,000 on the premium shells. When you're spamming gold in the WZ-132, you're actually at 1,150. But the standard rounds on this LT-432 actually have incredible shell velocity, 1,300 meters a second, which allows you to snapshot really without giving lead. And it also makes it great for players who want to auto-aim at targets, even at mid to long ranges, and still hit them, even though maybe they're kind of adjusting their position. And remember, the way that auto-aim works in World of Tanks is it doesn't give any lead. That's why it's weak at mid to long ranges. But when you've got really good shell velocity, it kind of compensates for that. All right, so moving along, what is up with the gun handling on the LT-432? It's one of the best things about the T100 LT, at least its aim time and its dispersion. And it's pretty good news here. 2 seconds aim time is great. 0.35 accuracy is also really good. The moving traverse and the tank traverse and the turret traverse also great here. A little bit better than the LTTB and the WZ-132, but the turret traverse definitely means that I would recommend using vertical stabilizers on this tank, which kind of sucks because the T100 LT has such good turret traverse that I don't even use vertical stabilizers, which allows me to use vents instead, as well as coated optics and a gun rammer. So you're going to have to give one of those up on the LT-432. Now, one thing that is really bizarre about this tank, and I think that this should probably be adjusted, but if they leave it like this, it's one of the best attributes of the vehicle, is the gun depression. 7 degrees all around the tank. That gives you the flexibility to work ridge lines like a complete boss. Now, the T100 LT has 5 degrees, and pretty much all of the other Soviet and Chinese vehicles have 5 degrees. So why they would give this 7, I don't know, but it's definitely one of the advantages of playing the LT-432. Now onto mobility, 70 kilometers an hour forwards, pretty much the same here. The reverse speed, 23, is great though, allows you to get back around corners and also reverse around tanks. That's pretty funky, especially the slower, bigger heavies. You can actually reverse around them and outplay them if you can lock down their tracks. Power to weight ratio 30, it's really good, but not quite as good as the LTTB, for example. But the ground resistances on this tank really do hold it back compared to the WZ-132. Look at that, 1 on medium, 0.9 on hard, 1.6 on soft. That's way worse than the WZ-132, and it definitely affects the tank traverse of the vehicle. Look at this. It does turn like a bit of a boat. It's definitely one of the weaknesses of the vehicle. Significantly worse, like 20 degrees a second worse on hard terrain than the WZ-132, and also significantly worse on medium. But it kind of does okay on soft. All right, so now onto the armor of the vehicle. This tank has okay frontal armor, 70 degrees, 40 at the side. That allows you to side scrape, unlike you can do in the WZ-132, but the LTTB is still way up there as the best hull armor. But you don't really want to expose your hull armor. Sometimes you just want to expose your turret. And when you've got that 7 degrees of gun depression, then you can make better use of the turret armor on this tank. And that's great because it's 160 at the front and 100 at the side, which allows you to really mess around with Tier 6 tanks. This feels like a very powerful vehicle against Tier 6 tanks. In fact, many kind of Tier 6 mediums and Tier 7 mediums have got that kind of armor, and they do very well against the lower tier tanks. So that's definitely one of the strengths of the LT-432. Health points wise, 1,100, not really much to write home about here. It's got quite a good engine health compared to the WZ-132, however, but I have been losing the engine a lot still. And 380 view range. That's a bit of a pain for me. I really wish it was just a bit higher. It would make this thing incredible. And the camera rating of this tank, well, it's not bad. When it's fully upgraded, it's 38% when moving. Now, that's very good, but it's definitely not in the same league as the T100 LT or the ELC even 90, or even the T92 light tank, the American Tier 8 Premium Light. So it's kind of all good news, but also a little bit of bad news for the LT-432 with regards to its view range. And I really would recommend that you do fully pimp up this tank with its camera rating and also with the vehicle's view range if you want to still be a proficient scout. Because while the mobility of the vehicle is great, it's not as high as many of the other lights. And I think if you want to just be a pure scout or even a passive scout, then I think the ELC even 90 is still going to be the vehicle for you at Tier 8. Alright, so we're loading in on Runeberg here, and I really wanted to show this off because, not because it's just because it's a great game, but also because it shows you what you can do in this tank in a kind of a brawling situation. Now, a lot of people in a light tank would get onto a city map like this and just be like, oh, for goodness sake, I wanted to get on Prokhorovka, or I wanted to get on Malinovka. But for me, that hasn't really been the case in the LT-432. I kind of feel like I'm a cut-down T-44-100 with a bit more mobility, a little less armor, and I'd say a worse overall gun performance. Because while your DPM is decent on the vehicle, like the penetration really holds it back at 176. And the alpha damage at 180 it's alright, but it can be incredibly awkward when you have to try and get multiple shots into your opponents. And that doesn't usually work out very well for me when you're trying to trade with really big vehicles at Tier 8. Now remember, this tank can meet Tier 10s. Immediately we're going to get into position and we're going to punish this Bulldog on the enemy team who's trying to advance into an aggressive location. And here we go, a platoon of Type 59s with a TVP also in support. But luckily they don't even decide to turn their turret to shoot me. However, the TVP does, and using the 105mm on that vehicle takes off a whopping amount of my hit points. I've lost a quarter right at the beginning. I tried to clutch shot at the Carnarvon there, but the shell goes into the ridgeline, into the dirt. Doesn't really work out for me. Now, of course, with all of the enemy in that central position, they really do have an advantage on this map. But because they've all rushed right into the middle, they've actually left the top part of this map vulnerable. And this hopefully is going to be one of the advantages that I have. If I can make my way around here eventually and try and get into these bushes here, then I'm going to be able to shoot right down onto them and punish them and hopefully harass the T-54E1. Alright, so I've got to be careful. T-54E1, auto-loading, Tier 9 American medium tank, but look at the armor on this vehicle, just manages to pull off a ricochet there. Now remember, with 40mm of side armor, that means you're going to be able to bounce things that do not have 121mm caliber guns quite consistently if you side scrape in this tank. And it just pulls off miracle bounces, which can keep you in the game long enough to hopefully go to town on your opponents. Just like that, getting some revenge on that TVP who shot me earlier. But the Bulldog manages to slap in an armor-piercing round right through the side of the vehicle. Felt a little bit unfortunate there. I was hoping that maybe the turret or even the angled upper hull might be able to absorb that shell. But then again, you know, when you're playing in a light tank, this is not a medium, it's definitely not a heavy. You should count all of your bounces as good fortune, right? Alright, so I want to try and progress this situation, trying to harass this T-54E1, try and catch him out in the open, and hopefully spot him for the Tier 9 vehicles that are advancing in support. Like we've got an Object 704 and we've got an Object 430. So I'm just going to shoot the guy's tracks. Now, we don't do enough damage to his tracks to take it off first. Do you notice how we've got Eagle Eye on this commander, which allows us to see that we actually damaged his tracks yellow there, and the following shot damaged it to red. Now, the alpha damage is incredibly annoying because if I'd been playing in something like a WZ-132, the 250 alpha might have been enough to be able to take off his tracks in a single shot. And when you're a light tank, you get spotted, the ambush shot is really important, right? So I think this is just a case of not having enough penetration to go through the side and the tracks of the T-54E1. So instead I'm going to try and shoot the front of the vehicle now that I know that he's taken 1,000 tracking damage from locking him in place, and we're going to finish him off. Now he tried to harass us there by line firing into the bushes. Didn't work out very well for him. because that meant that once he'd whiffed all of his shells, I could really just sit there and even get closer towards him and put the pain on him. Alright, so great result to take out a tier 9 medium tank with support, of course, and I don't know what these artilleries are doing. By the way, I'm playing on the American server right now, and while I don't want this to be a video that judges the quality of play on the NA server, because they have been kicking my butt significantly throughout the days that I've been spending at this event, I'll probably have to follow that up either on stream or alternatively, I'll follow it up on a YouTube video, maybe about the different kind of metas. Alright, so I rammed the not the WZ, I rammed the UDES there, take him out, secure the kill, and I'm on a bit of a rampage right now. I only secured 1 kill, however, on that UDES with the ram, but now we're going to go to town on the side of this Tiger 88. Now this vehicle doesn't carry much ammunition, as you see, so I'm actually starting to run out of I'm running out of standard ammunition, the APCR. No, I haven't changed the gold rounds and the standard rounds on this tank. Those APCR rounds are as standard, and your premium shells are your armor-piercing ones, and those are the ones that can start to get very expensive indeed. How much do they cost? The standard shells on this tank cost 220. That's pretty darn cheap. The premium rounds on this vehicle, however, cost 3,200, and inside a bad matchup you do have to dab that 2 key a lot because your penetration goes up from 176 to 218. Alright, so we managed to get behind this E50, and hopefully we're going to be able to harass him. I'm even hoping for a bit of a fire right now, putting rounds into the back of a German medium tank, and there you go, flambe style. And I was just thinking, credits, 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 experience, experience, experience right now for setting on fire a higher tier medium tank, pretty much taking out the entirety with a few shots. Unable to finish off the Yag Tiger, however, we're going to continue to harass along this flank, and it's really just about trying to get as much experience at the end of the game as possible now. And when you've got the mobility to do so, that means the cleanup in this tank, I found, has been really good. If you can survive that early part of the game, then later on when you can isolate your opponents, you can really go to town in the LT-432, and that's why I've been enjoying playing this tank so much on the NA server. Alright, so around into the Borsig, but I'm worried about going around this corner because I thought the Borsig might reverse and shoot me, or alternatively the VK might be looking for me in the window, and it looks like he is. I hear the Borsig fire. I'm so tempted to drive around the corner and go after the Borsig, but as we can see, the VK is just focusing on me right now. Now, I don't want to side scrape here because if he's using the 128mm caliber gun, he will overmatch the whole of the side of my vehicle, and he's probably going to contest my frontal turret and hull armor as well, so I've got to watch out for that. So I just want to side scrape right now. Well, no, I don't want to side scrape right now because of the caliber of the gun. I wait for him to turn his attention to someone else and put a round into the side of the turret. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. A 6-minute game, 4,000 damage and 2,000 spotting. You know, I've heard of worse things in an LT-432, right? So let's just take a quick look at the post-game stats, but I just realized I actually have to upload the post-game stats on the... Oh, that's a terrible view. Let's just leave it like that. I actually have to see the post-game stats, I have to upload this replay on the What We Play's EU website. Oh, God, no. QuickyBaby, I can't cut this bit. I'm not going to be able to edit it down. Got to be professional. Oh, no, I'm going to have to log into my account on the What Replay's EU website. Okay, so let me just talk a little bit more about how I feel about this tank and how it competes both in bad matchups and also in good matchups. So inside a good matchup, your armor kind of works, but inside a bad matchup, it doesn't. And so that gives this vehicle definite advantages over something like a WZ-132. The WZ-132 in a bad matchup just can't really make use of its armor. It's not until you get the higher tier Chinese light tanks that you're really able to perform and go hold down with those turrets. However, this vehicle was definitely able to go hold down inside a good matchup, and you really feel like you can tear them apart with the DPM of the vehicle. Alright, so we've got the post-game stats here. LT-432, we get a Confederate medal, we get a high caliber medal, 1,550 base experience points. And keep in mind that I am running an event right now, apparently, so I got 92,000 extra credits, but I'm resupplying my premium consumables and all that ammunition. We would have made about 80,000 credits profit here, and 172 with the event that's going on. This tank is darn profitable. But I'm not going to lie, this is one of well, this was the best game I've had so far at about 20 rounds in the LT-432. But you make consistent profit as long as you're literally not dabbing that 2 key and just bouncing premium shells. Seems like it's one to keep an eye out for. Do I think this vehicle's a little bit too good? Maybe. I think with the gun depression, I think Wargaming need to nerf something about it because the gun depression is just flat out better than a lot of other vehicles in its class. but I don't think the vehicle is outrageously overpowered. I think it's going to be a little bit of a... It's definitely going to be one of the better Tier 8 premium tanks, and one of the better Tier 8 premium light tanks, I should say, to be exact. But I think with either a little bit of a nerf to the damage per minute of the tank or the depression, I think it should be fairly balanced. Anyway, ladies and gents, this was just a sneak peek of this vehicle. Hope you appreciate it. If you did, give the video a thumbs up. But if you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And seeing how I'm in America and it's Sunday, we have to have a Tech Tree showcase, right, ladies and gents? So come along right now on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby, where I'm going to be showing off the American heavies, right? Come on. I've been getting heavier in America. So why not just come along right now and see the entirety of that American heavy Tech Tree show? Tech Tree, there you go. Good. I'm stumbling my words. It's been a long event right now, but I'm feeling pretty good and I'm looking forward to this. So we're going to be playing classics like the T-29, classics like the T-32, and of course the T-125, which is a tank that I don't play very often. We'll see if I can make it work and make it competitive. So I'm really looking forward to seeing as many of you as possible right now on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby. And just a massive thank you to everyone so far who has used those Prime subs. Like, I cannot believe it. But I got more in one stream than I think I get from the entirety of a month of ad revenue on YouTube. So just a huge thank you to everyone. For, even just YouTube viewers who don't have time or don't really care about my live stream, for just coming on and linking your accounts and doing that. It's really a great way to support all my content holistically. So thank you very much. Really looking forward to seeing you right now.